Uncomfortable, they both understood that something had changed, and neither of them was sure where it would lead that. Evening after a quiet dinner, Ren and Tally sat by the fire. The room was warm and peaceful, a stark contrast to the cold world. Outside, the fire crackled. The only sound filling the space. "I've been thinking," Tally said softly. Maybe. "I don't have to leave right away. I don't have to decide anything today." Ren nodded. "You don't. We can take things one day at a time." Tally smiled, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "You're right. I spent so much time focused on the future that I haven't really appreciated the present." Ren smiled back. "Sometimes the best thing we can do is live in the moment." As they sat together, the weight of their conversation hung in the air, but there was also something lighter between them. It wasn't just about fixing the pod or completing a mission. It was about sharing something more, something neither of them had expected when they first met. Later that night, as they prepared to sleep, Tally looked at Ren before getting into bed. "You've shown me something I never knew I needed," she said quietly, "a kind of peace. I'm not sure what it means yet, but I'm glad I'm here with you." Ren didn't say anything at first. He just nodded, his heart full. "I'm glad too," and with that they settled into bed. The quiet comfort of each other's presence wrapping around them like the warm blankets. The fire in the hearth continued to crackle, and the world outside seemed far away. Days turned into weeks on Narasix, and with each passing day, the bond between Ren and Tally grew stronger. The storm had passed, but the world outside remained cold and unforgiving. The pod was still broken, but Ren was determined to fix it, and Tally was determined to stay by his side. There were still moments of silence between them, but now those silences weren't uncomfortable. They were filled with understanding, with an unspoken connection that neither of them could ignore. Ren found himself thinking about Tally more often, wondering if he could ever truly let her go, and Tally, though her duty to her people remained at the back of her mind, found herself cherishing the time she spent with Ren more than she ever thought possible. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the thick clouds, casting an orange glow across the sky, Ren was outside working on the pod once again. Tally stood nearby, watching him. Her eyes followed his every movement as he carefully adjusted the wires, his face focused and determined. "You know, I've been thinking," Tally said, breaking the silence. Ren glanced up, wiping sweat from his brow. "About what?" "About my people, about what I'm supposed to do." Ren frowned slightly, his hands stilling. "I thought you didn't want to think about it." Tally sighed. "I've tried not to, but the truth is I can't just forget about them. They're out there waiting for me. They need me." Ren nodded slowly. "I understand, but you've done everything you can. You've been here for weeks now, and you haven't given up. I can see that you're not running away from your duty. You're just trying to figure out what comes next." Tally looked at him, her expression softening. "I don't know what comes next. I don't know if I'll ever find them, but I also don't want to leave you." Ren's heart skipped a beat at her words. He turned fully toward her, searching her face. "Tally, I don't want you to feel like you have to stay because of me." Tally took a step closer. "It's not just because of you, Ren. It's because I don't want to leave this. I don't want to leave what we've started here. It feels right. It feels like this is where I belong, at least for now." Ren's mind raced, his heart conflicted. He knew what Tally was saying, but he also knew that one day she would have to leave. He couldn't hold her back, and yet he couldn't help but wish she didn't have to go. "Then stay," Ren said, his voice quieter than he expected. "Stay with me for as long as you can." Tally's eyes widened, and for a moment there was silence between them. Her gaze held his, and in that moment, Ren could see the conflict in her eyes. She wanted to stay, but she also had a duty she couldn't ignore. "I don't know if I can," Tally said softly. "I don't know if it's right." Ren stepped closer, his voice firm yet gentle. "It doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. What matters is what feels true to you. And right now, I can see that you're torn, but you don't have to decide everything at once. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere." Tally reached out and touched his arm, her fingers warm against his skin. "I don't want to leave," she whispered, "but I don't know if I can stay forever." Ren smiled faintly. "You don't have to stay forever. You just have to stay as long as you need. You don't owe me anything." Tally nodded, feeling a mix of relief and uncertainty. "I'll stay for now," she said softly, "and when the time comes, I'll make my decision." Ren looked at her with quiet understanding. "Then that's all we need. Well, take it one day at a time." As the evening drew on, the two of them stood together in the fading light. The storm outside had passed, but the cold remained. Yet in that moment it didn't matter. The warmth they shared was enough to fill the space between them. Tally finally broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. "I promise you, Ren, I'll do everything I can to help fix the pod, and I'll do everything I can to figure out what happens next, but I can't. Promise what that will look like. I just need time. Ren nodded, his hand resting gently on her shoulder. Take all the time you need. They stood together in silence, the weight of the promise hanging in the air, but neither of them felt burdened. They were in this together, whatever came next, and for now that was enough. Time passed more quickly than either Ren or Talai had expected. The harsh cold of Narasix didn't seem to matter much anymore. The cabin was warm, the fire always crackling in the hearth, and their days were filled with work, conversation, and moments of quiet reflection. The bond between them had grown stronger, and they had come to rely on each other in ways neither of them had ever thought possible. Ren continued to work on the pod every day, trying to repair the engine with whatever materials they had. Tally helped as best as she could, offering suggestions based on her knowledge of technology. It wasn't much, but every small improvement brought them one step closer to fixing the pod. But the longer Tally stayed, the harder it became to ignore the truth that she couldn't stay on Narix forever. Ren had given her shelter, warmth, and companionship, but she had her mission, her duty to her people. She had promised to help them find a new home, and though she had grown close to Ren, she knew she couldn't forget that promise. One morning, as Ren worked on the pot outside, Talai stood by the window watching him. The sun was barely rising, casting a soft golden glow across the snow. It was a beautiful scene, and for a moment Tally allowed herself to enjoy it, but soon the reality of her situation crept back into her mind. She couldn't keep pretending that she didn't have to make a choice. The sound of Ren's voice broke her thoughts. Tally, come out here. I think I've fixed the engine. Talai's heart skipped a beat. She quickly stepped outside, her breath turning to mist in the cold air. Ren was standing by the pod, his face lighting up with excitement. I think it's done, he said, wiping his hands on his pants. I've repaired the engine as best as I could. We should be able to get it running soon. Talai walked up to him, looking at the pod with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Are you sure? She asked. Ren smiled. I'm sure it's not perfect, but it should work. Tally stood there for a moment, her eyes focused on the pod. Then with a deep breath she turned to Ren. I need to talk to you about something. Ren looked at her, sensing the seriousness in her tone. What's on your mind? Tally hesitated, struggling to find the right words. Ren, I don't know how to say this. I can't stay here forever. I can't keep hiding from my duty. Ren's face softened. I understand, Tai. I knew this day would come. I thought about it every day. Talai continued. I've been trying to avoid it, but the truth is I can't ignore my mission. My people are out there waiting for me. I have to find them. I have to finish what I started. Ren nodded slowly, his eyes filled with understanding. I knew you would have to go eventually. It's what you've always wanted. Tally looked down at the snow beneath her feet. I didn't want to leave. I wanted to stay with you, but I can't abandon them. They need me. Ren reached out gently, placing his hand on her shoulder. You don't have to explain, Tali. I know you have a responsibility, and I can't ask you to stay if it means giving up everything you believe in. Talai's eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you for understanding. I'm sorry. Ren gave a small smile. There's nothing to apologize for. I want you to do what's right for you. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. The decision was made, but it didn't make it any easier. Tally felt the ache in her chest, knowing that she was leaving behind something that had become so precious to her. Ren, too, felt the sting of her words. He had grown to care for her in ways he hadn't expected, and the thought of her leaving was hard to bear, but neither of them could change what was coming. They both knew that their paths had diverged, and that Talai had too. Go, I'll help you fix the pod, Ren said quietly. We'll get you back to your people. Talai nodded. Thank you. I don't know what I would have done without you. They spent the rest of the day working together on the pod. It wasn't easy, but it was a task they did together, side by side, knowing that the end was near. The repairs were finally complete, and the pod was ready for takeoff that evening. As the sun set over the icy horizon, Ren and Tally sat together one last time by the fire. It was a peaceful night, the warmth of the flames mingling with the cool air from outside. Neither of them spoke much, but the silence between them was comfortable, filled with the memories of everything they had shared. Talai leaned her head on Ren's shoulder. I'm going to miss this, she whispered. Ren looked down at her, his voice soft. I'll miss you too, Talai. The fire crackled in the hearth and the night stretched on. The decision had been made, but their time together would never be forgotten. The morning dawned clear and bright on Narasix. The cold air was crisp and sharp, but there was a sense of calm that had settled over the cabin. Tally stood by the window, looking out at the snow-covered landscape. The pod was ready. All the repairs had been made and it was time to leave. The thought weighed heavily on her heart, but she knew it was the right thing to do. Her people were waiting for her, and she had made a promise to them. Ren was finishing up some last-minute adjustments. Outside, his movements were slow, deliberate, as if he, too, was trying to delay the inevitable. Neither of them spoke much in the morning. It was as if the quiet, the stillness of the world around them was giving them time to process everything that had happened. Talai walked outside, her boots crunching in the snow as she approached Ren. He didn't turn to look at her at first, too focused on the pod, but when he heard her footsteps, he paused. "It's ready," he said, his voice steady but tinged with sadness. Tally nodded, her heart heavy. "I know it's time." Ren turned to face her, and for a moment neither of them spoke. The world seemed to hold its breath as if waiting for something to change. Talai's eyes met Ren's, and she saw the same sadness mirrored in his gaze. "Ren," she said softly, "thank you for everything. I never would have made it without you." She paused, struggling to find the right words. "I won't forget what you've done for me." Ren smiled, but it was a sad smile. "You don't have to thank me. You didn't need to be saved. You just needed someone to help you find your way, and I'm glad I could do that." He took a deep breath, the cold air stinging his lungs. "I'll miss you, Talai, more than you." "No." Talai stepped closer to him, her hands trembling slightly. "I'll miss you too," she said quietly, "but this isn't the end. Maybe our paths will cross again. The galaxy is big, but it's small in some ways too." Ren nodded. "Maybe, but for now you have to do what's right for you." "I understand that." They stood in silence for a long moment, just looking at each other. The sound of the wind, the crackling of the fire in the cabin, all seemed distant. As they shared this last moment together, Tally could feel her